Hello, greetings, lovely crafty monkeys. How the devil are you? I know this is a later time than we normally are on. Let me just have a look. It's saying, yes, we're telling your followers that you've started a live. Fabulous. Usually I'm sat here, it's a bit dark. Usually I'm sat here and it's a lot lighter because I normally do this live at 5 o'clock, but tonight we are doing a little bit later because we are going to be talking to one of our wonderful guests who is transatlantic, so it has to be a little bit of a time difference. So that means in New York at the moment, I believe that is it 4 or 5 o'clock? 4 o'clock, I think, over there. So what are we going to be talking about tonight? I can see you coming in and Zak Foster is joining us. Yes, Zak, I'm going to let you in a second. But that's who we're going to be talking to tonight because this chat is all about something that you may have seen in the last few days. Now, if you have been looking at any TV or reading any newspapers, you will have seen conversations, photographs, discussions about the fantastic Met Gala. What is the Met Gala? It is held every single year at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. And it's held, presided over by Ms. Anna Wintour of Vogue fame. And it's a great fundraising event. But for me, and I love it, I'm a fan of it. Every year I watch it. It wasn't on last year because of Corona, of course. But every year since 1995, the Met Gala, or the Met Ball as it's sometimes known, has been happening. And it's a great opportunity for amazing fashion. And I know some people might just think that it's froth and it's silly, but there are a lot of political and social statements made on that red carpet. People really go to town with it, and there's a theme every single year. Now this year it was all about American independence, and there were some amazing costumes there. One of my favorites was Miss Debbie Harry, and she was wearing a kind of version of the American flag, and it was this brilliant blue denim jacket and then this red and white striped skirt, and it was a bit crazy, but there were so many fantastic outfits and costumes, really, because these things that have been created, they are very much like costumes, and a lot of them go into exhibitions, and they are real works of art. Now, of course, American independence, Americana, what do we think of? We think of flags, we can think of the kind of Western style things. Miss Jennifer Lopez was wearing I think it was Ralph Lauren, and with this kind of very sort of modern take on a cowboy hat, and she looked amazing. But for me, I think as well, quilts are the way to go. And huge props to the rapper A$AP Rocky, who went down this road, and he just thought, and he saw this fantastic quilt that was made by a fantastic designer under the brand name of Earl. It's called Eli, and he approached him and said, I'd really like to wear that quilt. So there was a bit of a conversation, and then Eli agreed, and then they had this quilt made. But they needed the underneath of the quilt making, and so who did they approach? But Mr. Zak Foster, and I am now going to invite him in to chat to us. How exciting for Zak and for us. So, view request from Zak and go live with Zak. See what Zak has to say about this amazing experience, because it must have been absolutely incredible for him to see his quilt. Hey, Zak.
Hi, Rachel. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm all right. Cloud nine, let me tell you.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, it was exciting for me to, open the Instagram feed in the morning and to look at all the costumes, and then to see, hang on a minute, what? So it must just have been incredible for you. And also you had to keep this a secret, that you had created the underside of this quilt. So just well done and congratulations to you, because it was magnificent. And it was like my husband said, that when it was laid out, it was like the red carpet, but we didn't want anybody to walk on it. But such a brilliant piece of art. So Zak, welcome. Let's talk all about it. So how?
Let's.
I mean, how?
Well, I tell you what, I mean, Rachel, I was listening to your introduction, and the theme being based in the American tradition like it was, I was actually pretty surprised that there wasn't more red, white, and blue and some of the things that we would consider traditionally American. I was really surprised too that there weren't more American designers.
Mm,
Nothing against international designers, but the theme being what it is, you think there'd been a natural like gravitation towards American designers. But I did think Debbie Harry had a wonderful look. Jennifer
I
Lopez, you
loved
mentioned,
it.
wonderful look,
I
felt
loved
very
it.
American. Yeah. And there was, you might have spied in the background, there was a woman wearing, I don't know who she was, maybe somebody listening does. There was a woman wearing a patchwork dress that was kind of a wedding ring pattern, head to
Yes.
toe. And I just kind of saw her skirting in the background. I don't know who she was. So I don't know. It was a good night for quilts. Even Anna Wintour herself, in her opening remarks, said that American fashion is a patchwork. And I was
Patchwork.
just like, hey,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I
it's
saw someone
beautiful.
interviewing Anna Wintour actually when she said that about patchwork, and then this girl who was interviewing, I mean, she was very young and excited, and she started talking more about the kind of celebrity, and I thought, oh, I would have jumped on that. I would have really jumped on that kind of patchwork discussion and kind of taken that further. But anyway, that's just from a different angle that I would have gone with. But yes, I thought that was an interesting comment as well that she made, and I'm surprised, as you say, that there wasn't like kind of more American designers, Americana, but also more quilting and things like that. Yeah, it was. I mean, of all the people that you would not have expected it from, I guess it was a male rapper. I mean, props to him that he saw this and just thought, yes, this is America, the land of quilting. Really, really clever.
Thinking outside the box,
Yeah, yeah.
and some of the quilters that have contributed the most to the American traditional quilting are Black quilters from Gee's Bend.
Which is
And
what we
so in
talked
some
about
ways
in our
there's a
yeah,
direct lineage.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I thought that was, we had our chat about that in our previous conversation on YouTube, and we were talking then, weren't we, about how those quilters used to just make do. That was what it was about. It was just about putting all these fabrics together and making do. It wasn't about all the kind of fancy processes that we go through today. And I thought that was interesting about your the back of the quilt. I mean, let's talk about the quilt, Zach, because there are two sides to the quilt, of course. There is the puff side of it, the puffy quilt, and then there's the underside, and you were responsible for the underside. The actual puff quilt now, I'm a little bit
As
confused
I
by it
prefer to
because
call it, Rachel, I prefer to call it not the underside, but the red side.
I think the better side. And let's just call it the better side.
Well, I'll let you say that. I'll let you say that. I
Yeah,
don't
the
call it the
red
back
side.
side. I don't call it reverse. I call it the red side.
I agree with you. I think it's the better
Yeah.
side. I think it's the more important side. Hey, what side did he throw it down on? He wanted everybody to see the red side. So there you go. That's how
Hmm.
important it was. He didn't just
Yeah.
throw it down showing the poofy side. He wanted the red side. But I thought that it was a vintage quilt. I know that it was from a lookbook 2020 that Rocky saw it and he said he wanted to wear it. And I've seen the model, the girl with it draped around like a long kind of train. But was that the original quilt and then Eli, the designer, made a new quilt? Or was it that quilt and then you put the underlining on? Or not the underlining, the other side?
Yeah. The yeah, it went through. There's an evolution that it went through. So when they first contacted me on Instagram, they wanted me to remake the vintage quilt that they had found. Eli
Okay.
found online somewhere, really liked it. Tried to track down who the maker was, but of course, like people don't sign their quilts, especially if you're talking, back 50 years ago, especially. Viewing quilts as art is more of a modern notion, and so it's impossible to track down the original maker of that quilt. But when he reached out to me, the idea was that I was going to remake the quilt. They're going to provide me the materials, and I was going to sew together this puff quilt, bubble quilt, biscuit quilt. We call it different things. But as the longer we conversed, and I think the closer we got to the gala, uh, the plan shifted from we're going to keep the vintage quilt, and I was going to make the red side for it. Because originally the vintage quilt had a pretty plain gray background. And plain
Yes.
gray, I mean, that's low drama. Like Rocky can't do anything with that when he gets to the top of the stairs, you know? Um, so they sent me the red fabrics. And, honestly, I was glad that they kept the vintage quilt, really. because a vintage quilt has a magic to it baked in that I wouldn't have been able to capture, right? 50 years of loving and wrapping and wearing and washing, like that's, you can't recreate that in a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was glad that we kept that, and I was glad to be able to dedicate my energy and my time to the red side because there was more artistic latitude, more creative latitude there for me, where, they gave me a mock-up. They showed me kind of what they were thinking, and I, in the beginning, replicated that. And they're like, we need crazier, we need bigger. And I'm like, I got you. And from there on out, I just went bonkers. And we just had a lot of layers and chaos. That was Eli's word. He just went, I want more chaos. And he wanted to have kind of a mendy feel, like it had been mended and layered. And I think we got there.
I think we did. I think
Yeah.
we did. Did he provide all of the red fabrics that we saw? Because there were obviously shirts and things in there. So was it all provided, or did you add to it?
Yeah, so he gave me most of it. He gave me most of it. And thankfully I was glad to see when the boxes arrived that it was all repurposed material, vintage fabric scraps and things like that. No new material purchase for the final iteration of the project. So I was glad to see that. I provided, I don't have any scraps of it left on the floor. My mom at one time, a couple years ago for Christmas, gave me some red and blue flannel, a plaid, and I put some of that in there with his permission. And so that my mom has a little connection in there too.
Now that's nice. That's really lovely.
Yeah.
And so did you do any kind of sketches about what you were going to do, or was it just literally organic? Because I know you work in a very organic way. So was it just literally piece by piece by piece and laying things out and changing things around?
Yeah, I didn't have a sketch. I tried to, I tried to channel my bedroom floor before high school when I would try on 7 different outfits before going, off to class that day. And just like what that looks like, just like stuff everywhere, right? And so that's kind of the vibe I was going for. Clothes just strewn everywhere on top of each other.
Yeah. Well, it looked absolutely amazing. The other thing as well, of course, is that when you had, I know that you said in your videos that your shoulder was hurting because I don't think people realize how big that thing was. I mean, I loved that picture that you put on your Instagram today of you sat there with it behind you. And I said to my husband, that is a great photo because it just shows you how big this piece is. And there's a real, that I absolutely love what you do, but there's a real, although you just said there, it's just all thrown everywhere, there's a real art to what you do. And it's just, I just think, it would be great to see that quilt on a wall and just be able to stare at it on the bits that you did, because I'm sure that if we were to get up close, there's so much intricacy in what you actually did. But it was a big project. So how long did it take you from when you started putting all the pieces together to when it was to when
Rachel,
it was?
hold on a second. I think you might be breaking out.
Oh, okay. Am I back?
Hold on, is it you or is it me?
I don't know.
People in the comments, could you let us know?
Yeah.
Do I have a bad feed? Is it Rachel?
I'm moving now, and you're moving. We're both moving. Have you got me back now, Zach?
50-50.
Okay. Well, you talk. Okay. So Zach, I asked you how long it took you from start when you started putting the pieces together and sewing to when you had finished the red section. Are you still there? Is it me or is it Zach? Can people tell us in the comments who is breaking up here? It's paused on Zach, but it's good now. Okay. Oh, are you back now, Zach?
I think so. I just switched network, so let's see if that helps.
Okay, let's see, because people are saying it paused on Zach, so hopefully it's okay. Okay, so my question to you, Zach, was, so when you had got the idea in your mind and then you started to actually sew all the bits together, how long did that process take until you were finished? Because I know we can talk about the undertime, but until you had gone, okay, that's it. That's it. That's done.
I think I had 5 or 6 days to work on it. And in those 5 and 6 days, I was also starting a new school year, so there was a lot happening at the same time. So really, it wasn't so much a matter of the artist stepping back and being like, it is finished. It's more like the Met Gala is tomorrow, so we're done.
Yeah. So then, okay, so when it was like, okay, the Met Gala's tomorrow, how did you, because you obviously had to then attach it to the quilt.
Mhm.
Now, I know that you did some hand tying, so can you explain that process? Because to a layman like me, I would go, and I know this is crazy, but to me, I would go, okay, well then you just take all the things and you sew around the edge, right? So, but you didn't. You were hand tying it on. So what was that about?
So yeah, I did. That's a good observation because I did two things. So the first thing I did was I did the hand ties. I did that for a couple different reasons. One, I thought it was very era appropriate, like that 70s,
Yeah.
80s, all
Yeah.
those a lot of those puff quilts were hand tied. So I just thought that was perfect. It was also faster than quilting.
Yeah.
Um, and it secured the red side to the puff side. Then what I did was something I had never done before, and basically just go through and treated that red side like a giant piece of applique. And so I turned the seam allowance under and just stitch it down with a zigzag stitch. Again, in keeping with the era of the time. And that was it. So it's attached two ways, first with the hand ties to make sure it stays together as a piece, and then around the edges with the zigzag stitch.
Okay. So you did all of that. Was it collected from you by a courier? Did you send it somewhere? Did you take it somewhere?
Well, I was invited to the Carlisle Hotel, which is the big fancy hotel where they do all the staging for the Met Gala because it's
Okay.
close by. I declined. I'm not fancy, Rachel. I'm not
Oh,
fancy.
Zach, honestly, you should have thought of this interview and gone, and then you could have got some celebrity gossip for us.
I know. But for me, it turned out even cooler because um, they asked if they could come by and pick it up. I said, sure. I assumed it'd be like an assistant coming by to pick it up, but Eli himself wanted to come by, his assistant, and they had a third person. They brought some muscle to carry the quilt. And so it was really cool to meet Eli in person. You know, we had FaceTimed and we'd been texting stuff, but I was really appreciative that he took time to come all the way from Manhattan to Brooklyn. That's not nothing. And picked up the quilt. And they were just like, they were a force in nature. They were in and out maybe 10 minutes, but it was a party the whole time. You know, we were talking, asking questions, we were taking pictures together and talking about the future of the quilt and things like this. And so I'm very happy with the way our paths crossed in that moment. And then they
Was it,
rushed off to get back to Manhattan to fit Rocky.
and was he, do you think Eli was blown away by what you had done? I'm sure he was. Was he, what did he say?
I don't think he really had the words for it. I think he was just so like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Is it egotistical to say they knew who they were getting in touch with, and then they knew I do good work? But I think this even surprised them. I think they had an idea in mind, but to see it actually physically executed in front of you it was beautiful.
The beautiful thing about it, I think, Zach, what kind of struck me, and when Rocky, did take it off and did all of that. I mean, because I've seen the underside of it from your pictures. So as you say, it was just a grey lining. And when you look at the underside of it, when it's grey, with all the other colour on the other side, it does look like it looks like, oh, I don't want to say this wrong, it looks like a regular quilt. I mean, it's an amazing quilt. It's amazing, and you can see that it's been loved, and but it's a kind of traditional regular piece. And then when you put your underneath, it's like almost like Vivienne Westwood got hold of it or something. Do you know what I mean? There's like a really cool kind of punk rock thing about it with this very traditional Americana vintage thing going on. So I think the whole piece, for Rocky to wear it, I just thought that was, the whole thing just fitted. Rocky, the vintage, and Zak Foster. I mean, it's just like a perfect triangle.
I'm happy with it. I did hear from Rocky.
Good.
I did hear from Rocky today. He reached out to me overnight.
That's
He
what
said,
I was going to ask you. What did he say?
he messaged me on Instagram and he said, "Much love, bro. I'll take it.
Oh, no,
I'll take it."
that.
Because not everybody gets a text from Rocky, but I got one.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, next to Rihanna, I think she was in Balenciaga, wasn't she?
Hmm.
So she was in the kind of very modern day wraparound kind of quilted piece. But they did look amazing together. I loved it how they were late on the red carpet. So they had their moment, which then gave you your moment. I mean, just how has it been since, Zach? Since, I know you've done some press and stuff. I mean, I was straight in there, I think within an hour of seeing it. I was like, oh my God, I have to talk to you. I have to talk to you. But how has it been since it happened?
I mean, it's I'm gonna say that it is what I'm hearing from a lot of people, quilters out there, is something that resonated for me too, which was it is just so cool to see. Cool is not the right word, like just I mean special. Not to be
Yeah,
cheesy about it, but it is just special to see an art form that we love
yeah,
valued in such a way on the red carpet in front of the
yeah,
Metropolitan Museum. And so to have having had a hand in that was just a really beautiful experience. Um, so I like to think that since then, like I've had a couple moments in my 12 years in New York where I felt like I really added something to the fabric of the city, to the cultural fabric of the city, and this is one of those
yeah,
moments. And that's a really special thing because I mean we all have our impact, right? But for me to be able to like point to the Met Gala as my particular thread that I added, I just think is just a real honor, a real honor.
oh, it's
And,
amazing. Yeah,
and the week has been absolutely wild because, like I mentioned, like I've been teaching this week, so that's been happening all day. But I was up late the night before on Monday, and there's emails coming in and interviews coming in, and I just got done with one interview, and my favorite one though was from the local news network from back home. They
yeah,
called me on Tuesday and asked, would you mind? Do you have time? I said, I got time right now. Let's do it. So we hopped on Zoom and we made it happen. And the most special thing for me was to be able to then to call my folks and be like, y'all make sure you're watching the news at 6 o'clock, so they could see it too. That's just
yeah,
sweet.
yeah. It's such a proud moment because I mean that's what I said to you as well on our direct messaging was, I said you're a part of history now because all of those Met costumes, they I mean they're all, I mean like today I was looking at Rihanna and it was saying her last 5 years looks and things. I mean they all these costumes are always coming back and I'm sure they go on display. I mean what's going to happen to the to that piece? What's the future of it?
That I can tell you that there are plans. I don't know how much I can share, but there are plans. And so it's
Really?
an honor to think that the Met Gala was just the beginning of the journey and not maybe the crowning moment.
Yeah, do you know what I'd like to see? I would love to see it go down a catwalk, and I'd like to see a girl wearing it, and it kind of be somehow off her shoulders, and then draped around, have some kind of big leather belt or something in the middle, and then somehow some kind of thing underneath it, almost like I don't know. This sounds crazy, like some netting or corset thing that then throws it out so we see your side of it and then she just sachets down this catwalk. I can just imagine it as this amazing amazing piece. That's my
There's a
idea.
lot you can do with it. And you mentioned the lookbook earlier. People could go to ERL's Instagram page and it's not very far down. Like he posted it, I don't know when, but it's like on the third row or some fourth
Yeah,
row by now.
yeah,
And you can see what it looked like on that model. And it's a
yeah,
different vibe, but it's still
very different.
the quilt, and it
Yeah,
was really sweet.
yeah, very very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's amazing for you to be part of history. A really, really proud moment. I mean, well done to you. What can I ask? Did you watch it live on TV? Were you waiting for the moment when he arrived?
Rachel,
It's
that's
like
why I
when
was,
people watch the red carpet at the Oscars, don't they? And then
yeah.
the designers, because they never know. In that instance, I've heard that a lot of actresses have like 5 dresses, and then the designer doesn't know if she's going to turn up in theirs until the last minute, and then they look and they go, "Oh, she chose my dress." So obviously, I think it was very different with you. You knew it was going to be warm, but were you watching live?
Well, I was under the assumption that he was going to wear it, but it was so hot and humid that night. I had my doubts as to whether or not in the end he would do it. That maybe he would just wear his nice tux or whatever he was planning on wearing under. So so yeah, I mean I was already like exhausted, but of course I want to see the look. So I'm turning on the live feed at 5:30
Yeah,
and Kiki Palmer's there and the other host is there, Alana Sorry, Alana. And they're talking and they're interviewing all the folks and talking about their looks and stuff. And 6:30 goes by, and 7:30 goes by, and 8:30 goes by, 9 o'clock. No Rihanna, no Rocky. And then Kiki says, "Well, good night, everybody." I said, "Time out, time out, time out. We haven't seen the queen of the gala. Where is she? And where's that guy wearing the quilt that's supposed to be with her?" And so nobody knew what was going on. So the live feed stops around 9:15. I'm like,
Oh,
what is happening?
yeah.
What is happening? But we knew that Rihanna was the host of the after party. So I'm like, she has a plan. I just assume she has a plan. And so for the next couple of hours, my partner and I were on our phone, on Twitter. He was like following Rihanna. I was following Rocky and just seeing like what people were commenting on and like their pictures and like people were snapping them coming out of the Carlisle Hotel or getting in a van or whatever. Like it was definitely tracking their movements through the city. And then, yes, we got to see it live. And that was a beautiful culminating moment.
Oh, it must have been just
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, because Rocky really handed up, like he stayed bundled up for a long time. And I was
Yeah.
like, is he ever going to show the inside? And he goes up the steps and he's
You hope
posing and he's smiling.
Gust of wind or something.
Yeah, come on. But then he gets up there and he's like, boom, and it's red and then it falls to the ground. And it's iconic.
It was amazing. It was I watched it back so many times. It was an amazing moment. And I have to say, it was interesting you were saying about bringing it into popular culture. Just a little aside here, that my daughter went to her college today. She's studying dance. And she saw some young people and she said, hey, guess what? I mean, this is slightly stretching the truth, but she said, my mom is doing an Instagram live tonight with a guy who was working with Rihanna on her Met Gala outfit.
It's pretty cool. Look,
pretty cool.
I don't even know if that's stretching the truth. I mean, a little bit. Maybe the details are fuzzy. But I like to say that I can now authentically say Zak Foster and Rihanna in the same sentence, and it's not so crazy.
Exactly. Now, what I want to know is, because I think this could be the start of a beautiful friendship. I don't mean me and you. We're already. I mean,
I mean, you've already got a nickname, Rose. Come on.
I know. I love it how you send me little roses all the time, and then I remember it's Rose. And it is nighttime, Zach. It's nearly my bedtime, and you know that I love going to bed with you in my ears, right? So
You do.
you're getting me ready for my day.
Sweet dreams coming.
But what I want to know about is your future with the designer Eli, of course Earl, because I feel like there could be. It's like John Lennon here with Paul McCartney. I mean, I feel like there's a beautiful synergy going on here. So, do you think that there will be more opportunities for you to work together? There has to be a yes. There has to be a yes.
Rachel, I don't know how much I can say in public, but I can say that we clicked really well. We worked really well. Eli loves and respects the tradition of quilting.
Lovely.
And he's always scheming. I can say that much.
Okay. Well, he liked our post about you. I mean, that was enough for me. I was like, okay, you've had your moment. I've had a post liked by him.
It's a good feeling.
He knows the name Crafty Monkeys now. It's in his head.
Mm-hmm. It's a good feeling.
Oh,
I know it.
Amazing. Well, you deserve it because, there are so many talented artists in every field, amazing dancers and musicians and actors who never get their moments. They never get their moments, sadly. It's right place, right time. I once, there was a great quote from Soderbergh, actually, the director. And I think he said, I might misquote him now, but I think he said something like, talent and perseverance equals luck. Because when some people say, oh, you just got lucky. And he said, talent and perseverance equals luck. And I think to some extent that is very true. I think if you keep persevering and you have talent, then you can create the luck. And I think
I would add a third element. And that might just be, let's be honest, privilege. Throw that in there. Like I'm a white middle class guy. I'm at a point in my life where I can quit teaching to follow textiles full time.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing that I wish everybody had the opportunity to pursue in their life. Not textiles, but like what they want to do with their life and their life's energy. And so it's luck and it's hard work and it's years and years and years of just laying fallow and flying under the radar. And it's also, I got some visibility, you know? So I feel very fortunate. It's not even that I think other people could have made that quilt 100%. It would look just nice or even, just as nice or even better. Um, I just happen to be the one on the other end of the message.
Yeah, yeah, but you're very good.
Yeah, but yeah. Thank you.
You for a
Thank
reason.
you. Yeah.
Why can I just ask, just going back as well, just a second, and then I would let you go because I know you've had a long day. But what made him choose you? I mean, did he? Do you know if he looks through lots of quilting Instagrams, or did he know of you, or how did he come to choose you?
I don't, it was his assistant that reached out to me first, and we haven't had that particular discussion. I don't know why they picked me and not somebody else. I'm thankful they did. Um, I do know that he is familiar with my work because as we were talking about designs for the red quilt, he was sending me screenshots of things that I had already made. And he's like, I kind of want this. I kind of want that. Like, take that
Okay.
inspiration. So he was familiar with my work. So I don't know if that plays into the choice or not. But
Yeah. Well, I think I can imagine why, when he came across you, why he would, if he didn't know about you, I can imagine why he would go for you. It's a perfect fit. It's just a perfect fit. As I said, you caught my eye when I saw your Instagram feed. So you're a very eye-catching man, Zak Foster. Now let's have a look at what people are saying here. Okay, so lots of people join us. Thank you very much to all the lovely people who are joining us tonight. Let's see if anybody is asking any questions. I think people are just, lots of people said they were really looking forward to the chat and finding out more about it. I think people just love the fact that they're really into their quilting. And Deb's always said congratulations on the Met quilt. I think people just love it that you've brought quilting into, the kind of modern world. Let's just have a look. Everybody is just joining. People are just listening. Now Gracie Rose has said, is this going to be the trend clothing which with patchwork piazz? Pizzazz.
Mhm.
I love that idea. Yeah, maybe you should just create a fashion line. You should
just do it. Just do it. Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah. I'm of two minds about that because we do see quilts in fashion so much now, being turned into coats and stuff. And I think in general that's great. I love seeing quilts incorporated in every aspect of life. So don't get me wrong. But I would be kind of sad if someone took a perfectly good vintage quilt, no holes, no tatters, no stains, perfectly good, and cut it up to make a coat. Like that. That wouldn't sit well with me. That's not something I could do. I would
Yeah,
be the first one in line to take an old beat up quilt and cut it up to salvage it. But
yeah,
I think it's just because we're reusing material, we need to be aware of, do I have to transform it or can I still just use it for the original purpose? And I think if we can use it for the original purpose, then maybe that should be our first choice.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? There are so many different ways you could go with it. So it's how you feel about it and how you feel about, like you say, cutting things up or, yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what
We'll
happens.
see.
We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. We'll see.
But I definitely say quilts have a place in fashion.
They do.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, Miss Yarn Wrap said make, do, amend, which is what we were talking about earlier. And Jasmine has said, thank you for mentioning Black quilting influence. We are often forgotten. Ugh, and you absolutely shouldn't be, as we're talking about in our YouTube chat, weren't we? Yeah, that's kind of where things
That's right.
started. And
And this
amazing
is,
work.
and Rachel, just to kind of recap that for people who haven't seen it, this
Yes.
is this is a question I live with, right? Like I do not have an answer. Jasmine or anybody who's watching this, I don't have an answer to this question. I'm just living with it. And that is that I, as a middle class white man,
Oh, I think Zach froze again. Did you? I think he froze again. Oh,
oh,
there's back. There you are. You're back. You're back.
am I here? Am I here?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're here.
good. That gives me a chance to be more eloquent. Gives me a chance to be more
Okay.
eloquent. Um, so the question I'm living with, and I have no answers for, is that I am a white man who has dedicated his life to several things, but primarily improv quilting. The idea of taking quilts not having a plan, piecing together and coming up with something beautiful. And this was an art form that was birthed in a certain context. That context being rural Black Alabama, Gee's Bend.
Exactly.
And the women making those quilts were doing so as a certain self-expression, but also out of necessity.
Yeah.
And here I am in 2021, I get to sidestep all of that necessity and go straight for the expression part of it. And it doesn't seem, I don't know. It doesn't, I don't know. There's the question. I don't know what that means. I don't know what I don't know what the right alignment is for me, Zak Foster, white man, with Gee's Bend. And I don't know I don't know what that means. Like what's due? What's my responsibility? How can I help? If I can, rebalance things, bring awareness to, I don't know, all of those questions. I mean, it's a lot, but that's the question I live with quite a bit.
Yeah, but I think, by keeping the discussion open and by keep talking about Gee's Bend and keep talking about how they've inspired you, how those quilts have inspired you, and keeping that name alive, I think that's at least a positive thing. That's a good thing. And I think the more, then more people will talk about it. I mean, we were talking about whether those quilts should be classed as pieces of art, and whether the people who made them will class them as pieces of art, because as you were saying, the art world can be quite, yes, there are, conversations we've had about the art world. Do they belong in the art world? That kind of thing. It was very, if anybody wants to see it, it's on our YouTube channel, Crafty Monkeys on YouTube. Zak and I had a great interview. We talked about your memory quilts and things, but we did talk about Gee's Bend a little as well, and your inspiration from that era. But yeah, it's a very important talking point, but I think it's just important to keep talking about it.
Because now,
how incredible those people were.
Exactly. And that it was a response to a very specific community, a very specific situation, cultural context, time in American history.
Yeah.
And if we don't talk about it constantly, then I fear that it just runs the risk of like turning into a hashtag where like Gee's Bend is suddenly a style of quilting and not a community of real people with real history. I just want to keep that
and why
connected.
Those people were quilting, why it was the make do amend, but there was also, as we said, there was something beautiful to come out of something that was a very, very difficult time. And we talked in our chat about mindfulness and quilting and what it does for us today, and that was definitely part of what they were doing. So there are so many discussions to be had around that, but I just think it's important to keep discussing and keep talking about it. So yeah,
that's my thought. And if anybody listening here, I see people are chatting, but if anybody's listening here wants to have a longer conversation about it, you think you have an insight that would help me, listen, I'm living this question, so I would love to engage. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah, do it's interesting, Zak, because I was talking to Nicholas Ball yesterday, and I was saying that I'd really like to do a chat with you and Nicholas and some other quilters, and maybe we could, if it was just on the American side of things, maybe we could have record a Zoom about Gee's Bend, and we could talk about it and get a few quilters who are interested in that as well and have a discussion about it. I think it would be really fascinating to talk about it for an hour or so. So yeah, maybe I should put together a little team chat about that. That would be interesting.
Sounds good to me.
Let's do it. Who else is lots of people joining? Hey to everybody, too many names to go through. Ken's is saying, you go, Zak, you go.
Thank you, Ken.
Jasmine was saying it was you, but you're good now. I think you were disappearing. Both okay? Yeah, I can hear you both. See you both. Lovely, 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 lovely. Zak is grainy. You're grainy, Zak. You look perfect to me. You look perfect to me. Gracie's saying, did that just happen? I think the whole thing. You're not egotistical. You should be very proud of your work. You are truly amazing. Well said. Vintage Americana, Zak Foster, Rocky. Laura says, I bet your kids were pumped. I think she means all the kids in the school and where you taught. I bet they were. They're like, oh, we have the coolest tutor ever. Amazing work, great job at the Met Gala. Gracie said, I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna go see. Oh, Gracie, just literally Google. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
I mean, people say it's the most talked about piece of the night, I don't know how you quantify that, but it's definitely in the running.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
But there's actually a clip on YouTube, Gracie. I think if you just like Google, you know, Rocky quilt thrown on floor or something crazy like that, on YouTube, there is that bit captured where he's like this and then he just throws it. And then we see this fantastic red beauty that comes out. So yeah, the quilting hanger lady says love it. Jasmine says we can't sit here and act like Zak isn't an icon in the community. I have a pal that put me on and you just know. And Jasmine says you've also paid your dues and deserve the credit. 10 plus years is a lot of time. Spinning the Wheel says modest as always, the kindest soul, love from Ireland. I think she's talking about you.
Sounds like it.
Soul, but I think she's talking about you and she's right. That is history right there. That's what I said to you, Zak. That's what I put in my message to you. Hashtag history. You are part of history now. It's amazing. Sorry. Tanya said, thank you for saying this about not cutting up vintage quilts. It's kind of like, you know how, like you were talking about vintage quilts, I feel the same about books. You know when people get books and they rip pages out of books to do stuff with like paper style thing. I don't know. I kind of feel like, oh, it's a beautiful old book and you just ripped it up. I don't know. I feel the same about books. But anyway, some people might think totally differently. We're all individuals. So Love says quilts in fashion were a thing years ago. Yeah, and then the quilt hanger lady says you are part of my quilt college of learning. Thank you. Thank you for saying that about G's Bend. Absolutely. Please start a podcast about quilting and quilters. Do you know what? I might just do this. Or maybe she means you do it, Zak. I don't know. I don't know who she means do it, but I might do it.
But it's a good idea.
Now, DSF Hawk says find ways to collaborate with POC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, help me out. POC?
People of color?
Oh, okay. I've never heard that POC.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard it shortened to POC before.
Well, there's POC and there's BIPOC too, that at least here in the States is becoming more and more common, which is Black, Indigenous, people of color.
Yeah, I mean, I always say people of color, but I don't think I've ever heard it shortened down to POC over here. But yeah, okay, yes, absolutely. Well, hang on. So, what does she say? Find ways to collaborate. I know. Do you know something? Yes, I would love to have definitely a mixture of people on my website. You know, quilters, people of color who are quilters. So, you know, people should just get in touch with me and say, look, I would like to teach for you. I would like to work with you. I mean, I have to, whenever I reach out to people, it's always hard to get anybody to try and pin them down to teaching because everybody is so busy and designing and working like Zak is. But yeah, my doors are open. My doors are open to everyone, everybody. So yeah, please do get in touch with me if anybody wants to do anything of, any nature. And Kenza has said you were G's Bend and got reincarnated into a white middle-class man. Maybe so.
That'd be all right.
Soul dropped down. Soul came
That'd
down.
be all right.
Yeah, I believe that. Okay, and then Gracie says there are the history of the Midwest and those pioneers, the Seminoles of Florida, reverse quilting of the Philippines. Quilts and quilting have a rich history across the board. Absolutely.
No doubt.
That's the amazing thing. I think when I first started with Crafty Monkeys, I did not know the huge history behind quilting. I just didn't know it, you know. I just associated it with, you know, with just grandmas who made these quilts and they were traditional quilts. And then I discovered like your kind of quilting and improv quilting and you know, all different types. And then G's Band. This is all new to me, but it's a fascinating history and it's really amazing. And like I say, when I was talking to my daughter about it, I think it's great that people like Rihanna and Rocky are on the red carpet because they're bringing it out. They're letting other people know about it. It's not just a tiny niche area. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, and Amy Frayne says queer quilter here, living in Quito, Ecuador. I think that's how you say it. Awesome job, Zak. You inspire me. Fantastic. Nanabella says, have a marvelous G's Bend book. Even saw the quilts from G's Bend here in Sydney. Love this live chat. Thank you very much. Danica said, I was telling my daughter how much I love your quilting style, Zak, a few months ago. Now that she is a designer and knows I know you, I have more quilting credit.
Happy I could help.
I've got more quilting credit with my daughter's friends now that she just started with a college. So there you go. You've helped me, Zak, too.
You're 1 degree closer to Rihanna.
I'm I mean, you know, me and her are friends now. It's just
basically.
Like, I'm just going to DM her tonight. Hey, I was hanging out with Zak. Now, Ayrton says, Master Blender Quilt of the future will be, we've lost that. Will be flat without his sparkling vision. I'll carry on. Jasmine has said, Marley Grace, I think, has done a wonderful job as a white woman on respecting the art of quilting and its many influences. I took a month-long course in May and is someone you all may want to reach to. Can I save this chat? I hope so, because there is some great stuff. Yes, Jasmine. Yes, DM me. Just DM me, because I need all this stuff. So send it all to me as a DM. And So Loves is great chat to wake up to at 4 a.m. and listen to. Thank you. Love your work, both of you. Thank you so much. View request. Hang on. Go live again with Zak. Hopefully he'll come back in, and then we'll probably let him go again. I think. Has he? Yes, he is. Hey!
I think my battery's about to die. I am happy to talk with you, but if I suddenly disappear, that's what's happened.
Yes.
Let's just run this phone into the ground.
That's fine. Well, we've come to the end of the comments. Jasmine Blesser is just going to DM me because she said, the bit she said here was, Marley Grace, I think, has done a wonderful job as a white woman on respecting the art of quilting and its many influences. I took a month-long course in May and someone you may want to reach out to. And then she said, I'm just going to start DMing you. Yes, DM me. This is brilliant. And Gracie Rose says, third time a charm, because you keep disappearing and then coming back. And So Liv Scuba said it was great to wake up at 4 a.m. and listen to us chatting. So, brilliant work to both of us. Well, congratulations, Zak, people are saying. I don't think there's any more questions. I really want to put together the chat about G-Spend. That would be fascinating. Anybody DM me with any ideas, that would be amazing. And congratulations to you, Zak. I just think, on all the things that we've talked about, really, really well done. Really well done. Brilliant job. So excited for you. I love it when people get I love it when people get what they deserve, and you do. So well done to you.
I really appreciate that. Just trying to keep paying it forward.
Yeah, and you know what I'd like to do as well at some point is I did a great evening with Nicholas Ball, and he was talking about his book, and he brought some quilts from the book, and we did like a kind of show and tell. I'd love to do that with you and you could just show some pictures and things of what you did and kind of maybe go into real detail. That would be really fascinating, I think, to have that chat and see it closer.
Could be fun.
That would be
Could be fun.
But
I just want to say, Rachel, too, that I'm looking at the clock, and if folks are still around in 13 minutes, I'll be going live with Deborah Weiss, who is teaching an improv quilting and collage workshop with my Patreon community on the 22nd of September next week. So folks should stick around or come back at 12 minutes, and you'll see me talking to an entirely other lovely human being.
Okay. You are on a busy schedule. Okay, yes. Well, anybody who's watching here who is a Crafty Monkey fan, of course, I'm sure you all know Zak, but do head over to Zak's Instagram feed, and he has got your Patreon thing going on, and there's always something that you are trying to get the community involved with. Zak is not only an amazing designer and quilter and doing all the things he's talking about, but also a great community builder as well, which is what we love here. So yeah, really, really good to see. So have you done your mandala thing? Is that done now, Zak, or is that?
We're in the middle of it, and it is.
Can people still join that?
Well, I'm doing a pilot group right now, so we're testing it out because it's it was a dream idea, and I had some questions about how it might work, and so we're doing a pilot group. It's going really, really well, and that'll conclude in November. So it takes a little while to go through the process, but then I would like to open it up to everybody. So whoever's interested in doing a little digging and swimming around in their subconscious, they're welcome to join me. It's a lot of fun / awkward sometimes, but it's good. It's good work.
Yeah. Okay, well, people can head over and find out all about that on your Instagram feed. And I'm determined for us to do something to lift people's spirits in the worst month of the year next year, February. We've got to do a kind of mindfulness thing together, because that would be a lot of fun.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
To keep people's spirits going. Right, I'm going to let you go because you've got to prepare for your next thing. And yeah, people are saying also that you're a great teacher as well. So not just...
Yeah. Listen, I give that to my mama. She was a lifetime teacher. She taught for 38 years.
Well, you see, so you've got that talent as well. And people are also telling you to charge your battery.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. All right, Rachel, it is always a pleasure.
The same to you, my love. I'm now going to go to bed, having listened to your dulcet tones. I'm going to be a happy lady again. Right, okay.
Have a good night. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Well done again. Thank you to everybody for watching. Bye-bye.